Bob Madel.
Awesome. And what was your first science fiction convention?
Well, interestingly enough, my first science fiction convention was the first science fiction convention.
Dance, you witches, dance, you witches, dance, you witches, dance. Dance, you witches, dance, you witches, dance, you witches, dance. When you dance around with your body hat, when you dance around with your scary cat, when you dance around in your body hat, when you dance around with your scary cat, when you dance around in your body hat, when you dance around with your scary cat, when you dance around, when you dance around, you dance around, you dance around, around.
Science fiction convention.
Oh, wow.
It was held in 1936. It really wasn't planned to be a convention. What happened was that Don Wollheim, William S. Ford, John Michel, Fred Pohl, Dave Kyle, one or two others came over to visit the Philadelphia group, and we met them downtown in Philadelphia. And Milton Rothman, Elizabeth Train, and myself. And then we went back to Milton Rothman's home and discussed science fiction. And except for a brief formality by Don Wollheim, when he said, let's call this the first science fiction convention, England would have had the first science fiction convention, because the following February, they had scheduled a convention. They advertised it as such, and they had like 25, 30 people there.
Wow.
But, as history, as Moskowitz points out in the Immortal Storm, except for that brief bit of formality, England would have had the first science fiction convention.
This is Tim Miller. Tim is about to get thrown by a bull. Or is he? Does his Texas heritage allow him to naturally ride the bull? Yes, it does. He will be walking funny in the morning.
Maybe now.
Tim, what do you have to say for yourself?
I hurt my thumb.
My first convention was Comic-Con in either 97 or 98. I can't remember exactly.
These are details that we need to know.
It was either 14 or 15.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, and what did you think when you went to your first convention? What was your first thoughts?
Wow, this is big. There are lots of people, and I'm here by myself. And then the second thought was, the floor's kind of uncomfortable. Let's go over to DC. They have cushy carpets.
Depends on how you want to count. I mean, there was the hot tub incident at Baycon 04, but I really wasn't going to the convention. I just was hanging out with my friend. So if you want to, small gaming con here in Sacktown, then Baycon 07, I want to say.
At the Escher Marriott.
Yes, yes. And then the WesternCon immediately following.
That's right. Okay, and what keeps you coming to conventions?
That's where all my buddies are. You know, like this crazy guy that got me into fanzines in the first place. I don't know who he is.
He's some furry bastard, and someone should destroy him.
WesternCon 1965, which John Trimble was the chairman of, had an attendance of all of 200.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big affair, but it was a bit of a lull even at that time because there'd been a major feud the year before, And so the Bay Area people weren't visiting Southern California. And in fact, there was no dealer's room at that convention because nobody wanted to sell anything that year. And and even at the time, it was probably one of my least favorite conventions ever because I was too tense, didn't sleep well, was expecting something to happen every moment. And as I went to more conventions and learned to relax, and when I get tired, go to bed, when I'm hungry, go eat, and that made for a much more enjoyable convention.
Ranger Craig Glassner from Alcatraz in San Francisco.
Oh, excellent. Now tell me, what was your first convention?
Well, my wife and I had just moved from Kent State to Washington, D.C. She got a job with the government. And we discovered that living in the city, you don't meet neighbors and people as easily as you do in a small town. So we'd both been big fans of science fiction, read science fiction for years and years. So we went to, we saw something in the Washington Post about this thing called Disclave, may it rest in peace. Disclave was the local Washington Science Fiction Association convention at the time. And this would have been just right after the end of the Carter years, during the beginning of the Reagan regime. And so we went to check out this Disclave convention thing, thinking, well, what do we got to lose? And we loved it. There was a wonderful woman, Dolly Gilliland was her name, she's passed away now, who sort of took us under wing. I think she saw this look of amazement and confusion in our eyes, and she sort of took us under wing. And by the end of the convention, and this may be actually the end of the first two conventions, I mean, we're hanging out with people like Mary Niven and Jerry Purnell and Joe Haldeman and Isaac Asimov, just like we're part of, like we've been there for years. She really made us feel welcome. So on and off over the years, we've been going to conventions. We've gaffeated a few times, a phrase that I think some fans still remember. We have two children, both of whom became fans through no fault of our own. My daughter, who's more into anime and fantasy. My son, who's more in the gamer community and media. And that's one of the things that's great about fandom is that however you come to it, there's a place for you. Those are the kinds of cons, the general science fiction cons that we really enjoy.
It was a WesternCon.
Oh, excellent.
In 1953 in the Commodore Hotel in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow. And what did you first think when you went?
Boy, there were a whole bunch of other geeks like me here.
My first convention was a small science fiction convention here in Sacramento. I don't remember what hotel it was because I was still a teenager, not really paying a whole lot of attention to those sorts of details. But when I was 16, I got taken to the last day of the San Francisco Worldcon in 1993. And though I missed the art show, which was a very sad thing, I did get to go with a bunch of Fen to a dinner with Terry Pratchett.
Oh, wow.
And that was quite an experience. We got to have a drawing written on the back of fortune cookie slips for some little Discworld figures.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
My first convention was Washington, D.C. Con that was run by a really punk kid of 14 years old by the name of, oh my gosh, I can't remember now. He later became, oh shit, stop. Wait a minute. I can't remember. Gary Groth.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It was his parents helped him put it on. He was all of like 14 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got to meet Frank Frazetta, and I didn't go to a convention after that until about 10 years later, where I met Kelly Fraze. It was in Richmond, Virginia, and then 10 years after that, I met him again at the first BayCon, and then 10 years after that. I mean, that's the conventions I attended. And every 10 years, I come up and attend a convention. And then in 2002, I got to make Kelly Fraze my guest of honor and said, we got to stop meeting every 10 years.
My first convention ever was NorwestCon 3 in 1979.
Question, the world would be a lot more Jewish. Yes. Because the Black Plague is spread by rats, lice, and fleas. The Jewish tradition is very rooted in cleanliness and keeping clean. This is why the Jews were often accused of spreading the Black Plague, because the ghettos, a lot of Jews were surviving because they were taking baths.
Mark Schurmeister, aka Sherm.
Excellent. Now, Sherm, what was your first convention ever?
That was 1978 at Phoenix, IggyCon.
Oh, I was there. I was 3.
Well, it was the first. Actually, it wasn't my first convention. It was my first WorldCon. My first convention was the 1971 Witchcraft and Sorcery Convention in downtown Los Angeles, put on by old fan Bill Crawford.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. And what's kept you coming back to conventions all these years?
I enjoy them. I enjoy seeing the people I know, my friends. I just enjoy the ambience. I enjoy the chance to make a long-distance trip if I can.
It was a Star Trek convention whose name I have forgotten because I was 4.
You were 4?
I was 4.
I got you.
I'm second-generation geek.
As am I.
Yes.
Yes, my first convention, I was 9 months old. There are pictures of me being held by Harlan Ellison.
Oh, that's very cute. Oh, that's
so
dangerous.
I was hoping they washed me very well afterwards. I was swaddled in asbestos. Yes. Now,
or it explains a lot about you.
It kind of does that. All right, I'm here with Tom. What was your first convention?
Boy, that would be BayCon 1986.
86. And what?
First fan that I met was Art Whitner at the door. He handed me a copy of E-Boss.
Oh, wow. And
I have no clue.
And what was your thought walking into your first convention when Art hands you an EHOS?
It was like, what is that?
I went because it had Babylon 5 stars, so it was within the last 15 years.
Okay.
Maybe
And
15, 14 years ago.
okay, I'm going to look this up now. And if I find out, I'm going to tell you.
Oh, good.
I don't know what help it will be to your life, but I'll do it.
Well, the next time you get asked this question, you'll be able to answer it. Yes.
So the next time I make this same documentary again, which I will, because this is the 3rd time I've done it. Now here's the next question.
Okay.
What keeps you coming back to conventions?
I like hanging out with geeks, and I like meeting authors, so I've still got the fan thing, and now I'm starting to meet readers, which is cool.
Nice.
And, I've got my podcast, so I get to interview authors, which is cool. I can interview them on Skype and on the phone, but it's much better to interview them in person because you play off each other's body language and stuff that you don't do on the phone.
True. What was your first convention ever?
I have 2 answers to that question. My first true fan convention was PenguinCon 2 in Novi, Michigan in 2004. I had already been cartooning for a little bit, and I worked for Novell, and I told Novell, hey, there's this convention that's a blended Linux Expo sci-fi convention, and we're getting into the Linux space, and this is what the cool kids are doing in the software space. You should totally send me. And so they totally sent me on a junket where I could be a cartoonist.
Mm-hmm.
I did represent Novell reasonably well, but once I discovered that, I was like, man, this is cool. I need to do stuff like this more often. And so 2004, I think my first WorldCon was 2006, and I've been a convention year ever since. My first Comic Con was 2001. Yeah, I think 2001. That is not the same as this. Comic Con is not a fan convention. Comic Con is it's its own thing. It's part shopping mall, part train wreck, part star spotting, and I'd done lots of tech shows and stuff like that in the 90s. But I really count my birth in fandom as 2004. That was a longer answer than you wanted, wasn't it?
No, that was perfect, actually.
Right.
Michael J. Martinez.
Excellent. And what was your first convention ever?
This one.
This one. This is
my first convention, WorldCon, Lone Star Con 3, San Antonio, Texas, where it's bloody hot.
Yeah, it's really hot.
It's unbearable. How do people live? Seriously.
You know what I love is that when you're walking, so I'm about 4 blocks away in a hotel, and when you're walking by and a door is open, it's kind of like an oasis.
Yeah, it drags you in. It's very clever.
Excellent. Now, what brings you to your first convention?
Well, my debut novel debuted 3 weeks ago. Finally, I was with Nightshade Books. They had some issues, but they're all better now.
But it's a brilliant. I have to say, I saw it. It looks great. It looks freaking amazing.
They did a great job on the cover. The actual words have gotten well reviewed, and I'm very stoked about that. And I'm just here to see what this is all about, and I feel like I've walked into my tribe. You know, it's like, oh, where have you been all of my life? Wow, okay. Because I didn't, until writing this book, I had no idea.
Really?
I knew there were conventions, I knew, but I didn't know what they were about.
Excellent.
So coming here was like, oh, this is cool.
So all you have to do is hold it and point it at me while I do the narration.
I didn't pay that much. You really want to know? $25,000.
$25,000. Hello and welcome to 5Cons.
$7,500.
WorldCon Episode 1.
Yeah.
Smoke!
You can be George R. R. Martin.
Okay.
George R. R. Martin.
I don't actually remember the name of it because I was in high school and there was a science fiction convention, which I now suspect was actually a NASFIC because it was in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh.
And the timing would have been about right. I went because I was a huge Doctor Who fan, and there were going to be some doctors there.
Oh, wow.
So I was, you know, in the scarf and the coat, and Tom Baker was not the doctor that was there, but it was amazing. And then I didn't do any conventions again because I just didn't know about fandom until I started writing. So then the first one was Oricon, and that was in 2005.
First convention ever was 2001 Millville in Philadelphia, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into because I found the link on a website and it was in Philadelphia, and I lived in Philadelphia, and I said, this looks cool.
Oh, excellent.
And they sucked me in, and I've gone pretty much to one every year since.
Oh, wow. Now, what is it? What did you first think when you first walked into Millville? What did you think?
There was a really tall guy in a green alien costume. This was cool. So, yeah, it felt right.
Roger, what was your first convention ever?
1950.
1950, that was...
WestCon.
Oh,
Portland,
wow.
Oregon.
Oh, wow. And do you remember what it was like when you first walked in?
The madhouse.
First convention was a very small convention in 1986 called NASACon.
Oh, good name. Where was that?
It's in the outskirts of Stockholm.
Oh, okay, in Sweden.
Boston, 2004.
Really?
Yes.
So you were a relative newbie?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think the first time you went to your first convention?
There were too many things to do. I had a terrible time choosing the different panels to go to. In the con suite and the fan lounge, I was relieved and pleasantly surprised to be with either quirky or smart people all the time, bar none. It's a big relief from some of the corporate work life most of us go through.
Janice Davis.
Janice, what was your first convention ever?
My first convention was BlizzCon in 2010.
BlizzCon in 2010?
Yes, it
now,
was amazing.
I am going to BlizzCon this year. Work is actually sending me to BlizzCon.
Yay! Oh my gosh, that is awesome. I will see you there. I will also be there.
It'll be hard to. I'll be interviewing people, oddly enough, for work, so actually getting paid to do it. It's like, whoa.
Awesome.
Okay. And that would be Encounters Convention last year in Wichita, Kansas.
Really? Only last year?
This is my second one.
This is your second convention?
Yes.
So what are you thinking so far?
It's pretty interesting. It's a little slow on Thursday. I think it's going to pick up more on this weekend and more stuff's going on.
Oh, I hope so. Wow.
Detention WorldCon 1959.
1959, that's a while back.
Yeah.
Now,
I was young then. I was 16.
Really? Do you remember what it was like first going into your first convention?
Oh, very confusing. But I was with a couple of friends that I lured from my high school science fiction reading group thing. But, one of the weird things was they had a bar there and they were serving drinks. I was 16 years old and they're serving me alcoholic beverages.
Wow, good.
This is the Pickford Shelby Hotel in Detroit. I don't know what was wrong with that, but maybe it was because I was with these older fans or something.
All right.
Okay.
question. What was your first convention ever?
Was last year CHUDs 7?
The Hague. Was it 1989?
1989, yes.
Yeah. So that's way back when.
Wow.
So.
Well, I'll let you know. I was not at. Well, I was at that one actually. I was not at the Hague. I'm sorry. I feel like I've let you down. Okay.
He's been going since he was a baby. So.
What was the first convention you ever attended?
5Cons.
What year?
1996, I think.
I was there.
Oh, well, I didn't know you.
No.
I was not very old.
No, I was very small. That's not true.
No.
Yeah, very true. I was very shy withdrawing.
Well, I imagine that, yeah.
Okay, now what has kept you coming back to conventions?
Well, for a very long time when I was younger, it was a big gathering point for me and my friends, and it was a great sort of safe space to experiment with cosplay and just having a really good time. It felt like a kind of after hours of the Renaissance Fair, only clean and inside.
Hey, Todd, you missed that. The catcher missed. You could have run.
Totally a strike. Oh, it's a bunt! I'm here with...
I'm Megan Peterson.
Okay, Megan, what was your first convention?
I was 3. It was Anime Iowa.
Interesting. And what has kept you coming back to these conventions?
The family. That's the biggest thing for me.
My first convention ever was CAFRCON 5. I was in high school and in Rockford, and a buddy of mine said, I'm going to steal you for a weekend, and I had no idea what he was going to do, and he drugged me to Chicago, and we went to the Purple Hotel in Lincolnwood, and I had a life-changing experience. I met all of my family that I didn't know that I had.
I'm from Little Rock, and in about 1981 or 2, I was 10 or 11, and I was big into D&D at the time. And my mom said, honey, I found an article in the newspaper, and it was this little write-up, one paragraph about RockCon, which is a convention that's gone. We don't have any conventions in Rock. And it said there will be Dungeons and Dragons at this convention, and Larry Niven will be attending as a guest of honor. And I'd read Ringworld, and I was like, I have to go play there to play it. And so that was my first one, and I never went to another one until I was 37.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long stretch.
Yeah. Well, it was sort of a traumatic experience because I was like 10 or 11, and my folks just sort of dropped me off and I paid, and then it was this whole huge world with all these really intense people. And, you know, I went to panels with Larry Niven, and he was really cranky. And someone told me that, like, that's just to be expected, but I was still just like 11, 10 or 11, you know. And so I was just wandering around this place pretty much by myself, pretty young kid. So afterwards I was like, maybe. And then later, like, I played some D&D, and then later I went, like, someone was like, oh yeah, come upstairs, there's, you know, party room, and game, we're having, you know, we'll do other things. And I went up there, and there was, you know, like when you found someone kissing and getting down in the hall, I was like, this is just too much for me. I need to go home. So I went downstairs and called my folks, and they came and picked me up. And I never really, I think they had it a few more years, and I was like, I never went back. I was just, but then when I was 37, I had written a novel, and I didn't know anything about publishing or anything about really anything. And I got online and actually started learning about the industry and fandom and conventions. And I went to the World Horror Convention in Salt Lake City, and that's you know, it's interesting to contrast the sort of the horror fandom world with you know, sort of like these type conventions. So
yeah.
What are you doing with that?
Nothing. Nothing. You can't prove anything. You're involved in speculation.
The first convention was the 1976 World Science Fiction Convention in Kansas City, Missouri.
Big Mac.
Yes, sir. I had no idea what fandom was. I just found it a few months ago. They said, "Do you want to go to the Worldcon?" I said, "What's that?" They told me, and they said, "Heinlein's there." And I went, "Really? God's going to be there?" I've changed God several times since then. I was 19. And I walked in, and I knew that I had found my people.
First convention I ever went to was what ended up being a one-off, but wasn't intended to be a one-off convention in the Dallas area called Star One. It was a general interest convention with a Blake 7 theme. Blake 7's an old show that they're rumored to be remaking and hopefully not ruining.
That'll never happen.
That could never happen. Is J.J. Abrams doing it?
J.J.
No,
Abrams.
he's not.
Then you have a chance.
J.J. Abrams.
It's J.J. Abrams. Jar Jar Abrams.
Yeah,
That's it. It's Jar Jar Abrams.
Yeah, Kevin Smith did that. He was talking about Jar Jar Abrams.
Anyway, Star One was a Blake 7 and general interest convention, and one of the guests was Terry Nation. And I was a huge Doctor Who fan, and Terry Nation created the Daleks. So I went to that con to meet Terry Nation, because he wrote lots of great episodes of Doctor Who and created the Daleks. And that's how I started going to conventions.
Conquest 42.
For Conquest 42. And why'd you go?
My roommate worked the convention and grew up in fandom, so she kind of dragged me in.
Okay. And what did you think when you first arrived at Conquest 42?
There's a lot of crazy people here, but I really like it.
Excellent.
ArmadilloCon.
ArmadilloCon?
About 27 years ago, and I have no idea what number that was, but yeah, about 27 years ago. And it was actually fondly called PeccadilloCon by some of us, and I'm not going to tell you why.
PeccadilloCon.
PeccadilloCon.
I both want to know, and yet it sounds so much better if you leave it just sitting there.
No, we'll just leave it that way.
Dragon Con in,
So do I.
gosh, like 2001, I think.
Nice. And what was the first thing you thought when you entered Dragon Con for the first time?
I think I thought the same thing most people think when they enter Dragon Con the first time, which is, oh, holy cow.
Because
I have reservations. I'm not giving you an ultimatum. Okay, so the next one.
So suffice it to say that you are that tipping point kind of relationship.
Fair enough. We're going to be on the internet probably.
Oh, of course.
My first convention was Minicon. Oh my God, Minicon 24 or 25, 1992ish, I think.
Good times.
Yeah.
Renovation.
2011. I believe that's where we met.
It is. In fact, we met in an elevator.
So many love stories start like that.
Oh.
I met you at Conquest before we
Oh, that's right. I started going before I was
You went to, what was it, in Detroit that one year?
Oh, Confusion. Confusion. Well, I stand corrected. My first convention was in 2000 and early 2010. Early 2010, it was Confusion in Detroit, followed quickly by Conquest here in Kansas City.
So your official historians actually know your life better than you do. Wow. You truly are ready to be an author.
Funny. Yes.
Now, what brought you to your first convention?
My husband. Literally.
Literally.
I'm married to a 15-year con-goer, and we got together, and he said, I would enjoy this.
And have you?
No.
That would have been Conquest in 1990.
Okay.
I was 5 months old.
All right, so that was more than 20 years ago.
Yes.
To give you an idea, I have a shirt that is older than you.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Fair enough. Okay. So I guess I got to ask you the question, what did you think the first convention you went to?
What did I think of it?
Yeah.
My mom fed me and I slept, so it was great.
My first convention ever, I think, was MythCon 4.
MythCon?
MythCon in Goleta, which is right outside of Santa Barbara, California. I think I was 12.
You were 12, and you went to a MythCon.
I did.
So you're a Tolkien fan.
Yeah, let's go with that. Can't believe my parents let me leave. I was
No.
100 miles away from home.
Really?
It's scary.
Nice. Now,
Wearing tights.
You were wearing tights.
Of course I was wearing tights, man. It was VidCon.
My very first convention was, oh my goodness, that was the Southwest Regional event back when I was in the Cambria Live Action Role Playing Association.
Wow, that was a while back.
Yeah, that was back in 2002, I want to say.
I remember that. It was a different time then. Simpler.
Much simpler, yes, far simpler.
That would be Bacon in 2004, I believe.
2004 was a good year. What do you remember of the first time you walked into Bacon?
Oh, that's pretty memorable. I actually just went there that evening to go to the Regency dances. I was doing Regency dancing at the time, and my first thought was like, oh, it's my people. And I learned that they actually had panels on how to make lightsabers, how to do costuming, and panels on science fiction and fantasy novels and that kind of thing. So it's like, oh, I finally found my people. That's my first reaction.
Oh, awesome.
The Nova Albion Steampunk Convention in 2010.
At Emeryville. What was the first thing you thought of when you were there?
Holy crap, that's a lot of people in corsets.
Wow. Actually, I think my first, now you're talking about fanish conventions, right?
Yeah.
So my first fanish convention was probably in 1971 in Berkeley. I went to a comic convention.
Really?
That was, and that was the time, that was like the height of the underground comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very young, and I really felt like I was getting away with something by just being there. There's little R. Crumb and Gilbert Shelton and all the other, really crazy.
Was that called BerkeleyCon?
I don't know. I still have a flyer from it somewhere, but
Because I got a comic which had a Trina Robbins cover called for BerkeleyCon. It was, I think it was 71 or 72, and it was all these comic professionals doing Trina Robbins type stuff.
the cover of this one was The Spirit. It was done by what's his name? The guy who drew The Spirit.
Eisner?
Eisner. It was drawn by Eisner, but it was Spirit. He was kind of in bondage. He was being abused by a woman from some other underground book. I'm pretty sure that was what the theme was.
Wow.
My first convention was actually TimeCon 1988.
Wow.
That's the first one I say I attended, and I just kind of went. Tom Baker was there, and it was also the Slash Star Trek convention, Doctor Who Slash, not in that sense.
Yes.
Convention.
No, there was a lot of that. There was.
But my first convention, I'll say, is as part of the community where I actually knew people and I participated, I guess, on a deeper level would be last year's WorldCon in Chicago.
Wow, jumping in feet first at a WorldCon, that's a pretty big jump.
And I did jump in feet first because our mutual friend Maureen Starkey put me to work for the weekend, and I had friends like you and other of our friends in Baskerville looking out for me and just making sure I had a great time. And it actually made all the difference feeling like I was part of a community and doing aspects of work at the convention and just enjoying it at a much deeper, more satisfying level.
I went to a sci-fi con a long time ago in the 70s and didn't know anybody and didn't really get into the spirit of it. So the first time I really got into it, I suppose, was when I went to one of those creation cons in the early 80s and saw all these people wearing Doctor Who scarves, and I said, there are other people who are into this? Probably Bacon in 85.
Oh, okay.
I came down for the one day.
I was there.
Totally hooked. I gotta do this.
And what hooked you?
Just the costume and the beauty fandom, just everyone have a great time.
Excellent.
The social aspect.
Sweet.
My first real exposure to science fiction conventions, because I knew they were out there, because I was always a science fiction and fantasy fan, but I just didn't have a car and we were out in suburbia, so it's like you couldn't get anywhere. You know, in the East Bay you were like conquered, so it's like. My first convention was TimeCon, actually. TimeCon '86.
Oh, wow.
Which blew me away because of the costuming and the caliber of the costuming, which was just amazing, and I just wanted to do that.
Just beaten me.
Wait, your camera's not working.
Oh, you just turned it off.
I did not. It's on. Okay, that worked.
The 1984 World Science Fiction Convention in Anaheim, the largest Worldcon ever held.
Excellent. And what do you remember what it was like when you first came in?
Oh, it was an incredible experience. It was. I showed up and I said, this is where I've belonged all my life. I was only 18 at the time, okay, but this was an amazing experience. Even though I didn't really know anybody there directly, I had friends of friends, that's it. And I have actually spent my whole rest of my life paying that favor forward to other people.
The first convention was the first Glasgow convention, which was 5Cons-YouAlwaysRememberYourFirst. That was in 1978, and I was a callow youth of 16, and a friend of the family had seen it in the local newspaper that there was some strange people on the high street dressed up advertising this event, and they knew I was interested, so my father dropped me off that day, and I turned up and I thought, oh, these people feel kind of like familiar. And it turned out it was a small convention, 100, 150, and Jim White was the guest of honor. And so yeah, and this year now is my 35th anniversary of being involved with conventions. So yeah, it's been pretty continuous since then.
My first convention ever was a comic convention back home in Finland in 1983.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty early for a comic convention.
Yeah.
And what'd you...
Yeah, I think it's the first comic convention we had.
Oh, wow. And what was do you remember when you first walked in, what did you feel? What'd you think?
Wonder. I was 15 at the time, I think. I was 14 or 15.
Wow.
And I thought that this must be fun. It wasn't that fun, though. Unfortunately, my first convention was not the best convention in the world.
Oh, no. Nice shot, Tim. Convention ever.
That was the 95 Worldcon in Glasgow.
Ah, something.
Yeah.
Yes, I know the guy who worked on that. I think he's over there. Intersection, yes. Now, what has kept you coming back to conventions?
Booze, mostly.
Booze, mostly. Excellent. Now, tell us your favorite convention story.
Oh God, I don't know. I have the memory of a goldfish. I don't know. They're all a blur of alcohol and...
World Horror Convention in Eugene, Oregon in 1996.
Excellent. And what keeps you coming back to conventions?
People, seeing my friends again and hanging out with people and the free drinks.
And in fact, there's a children's book award, sorry, if I have the information here, I can't remember. It's the Roald Dahl competition, and basically, Jamie Stewart's Fishhead Steve is the name of this comic. Jamie Stewart's the creator of Fishhead Steve is the name of the comic, and it's been nominated for a book award. You know, and it's the first time in the 6 years that this has been going that a comic book has been nominated. So I think it's a really brilliant time to be in comics. I'm very happy.
1971 WesterCon in San Francisco. I was 19 years old, and Roy Squires, a rare book dealer, took me along to help him man his dealer's table, and I was dazzled. There was Fritz Leiber, Robert Silverberg, Norman Spinrad, and it absolutely polarized me. And ever since then I've been uncomfortable if I hit fewer than, say, 3 or 4 conventions a year.
My parents went to this great convention the year before. It was a Boston the year before, but they said, oh, we can't take you kids. It'll be boring. It's all grown-up stuff. And we're going to leave you. But they're doing it to talk about science fiction. No, it'll be boring. We're going to have you stay at home. Then I go to school the next day after the convention, and there's a girl who went, and she got, all kinds of sprinklers and sparkly things, and look at these toys, and my parents lied. But they didn't lie. They thought it was going to be like every other convention they'd ever been to in their life, and they had been astounded that it was actually fun.
When you talk about people who have their finger on the pulse of America or pop culture or fashion or food or whatever, Cory Doctorow doesn't have his finger on the pulse. Cory Doctorow has inserted meat probes and electrodes in there, and he's not reading us the whole thing. He's saying, this is very interesting. Liver temperature appears to be dropping already. I think I may have stuck this probe in a walking corpse. Let's see what other readings I'm getting that are similar to a zombie that perhaps we should put down. Cory Doctorow's work really insightful, and the metaphor that I used hopefully illustrated the fact that it's not just insightful, it's fun to read.
Yeah. You have to defeat Carrie in a battle. What do you do?
What do I do? Take her golfing.
Go for the knees. Go for the knees.
What do I do?
Light sweep.
I say take a lightsaber and just go all the way down the middle.
It's very violent of you.
All right, so I am here with, I forgot to hit start. All right. So why are you wearing a tiara and a sash?
Because I am the president of the Southern Fandom Confederation, which is the oldest continuously active fan group in the Southeast. It was founded in 1969, and I am their 10th president.
Oh, excellent. And why aren't you wearing a sash?
I'm her spouse.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah, he's the president consort.
Okay, you are a television program of the 1980s. What television program are you?
I am the girl from tomorrow.
Oh.
I'm the greatest American hero.
I'm sorry, you are both incorrect. The correct answer to that is LA Law. LA Law.
Moonlighting? No?
Moonlighting would be acceptable. Yes, junior. Or, actually, I'm sorry, I forgot there are Canadians in the room. Degrassi Junior High would have been acceptable.
Or the kids of Degrassi Street.
Or the kids of Degrassi Street, yeah. Or just Spike. Let's face it, just Spike.
Spike's
Yes.
Teen pregnancy in the 80s. Who needs teen moms today? We need to have Spike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. One place in the world eating one type of sandwich.
One place in the world eating one type of sandwich?
Where are you and what type of sandwich?
It's pretty easy. I mean, I might have the name a little bit messed up. It's the San Gennaro Festival?
Yeah.
In Little Italy in Manhattan. And Italian sausage sandwiches with flaming hot peppers in Little Italy in September in New York City. don't think it gets better.
did Dangerous Visions have on you?
It was the first specialty science fiction store in Southern California I ever went to.
Excellent answer. You go last.
It was the first science fiction story. I think it was Dangerous Visions, or was it again Dangerous Visions? I think Dangerous Visions included the Vonnegut story, didn't it?
The second one, the big space fuck.
The big space fuck.
Yeah.
It was the first science fiction story I ever read that had fuck in the title.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Donald Duck, which in Finland is huge.
Really?
Yeah, and it's Donald Duck in Finland as opposed to Mickey Mouse or anything other. And in Finland and Sweden, it's Donald Duck, and most other countries, it's Mickey Mouse.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, I mean the Finnish Donald Duck is huge. The issues. It comes every week on Wednesday because it's the fun day when Donald Duck comes. And the print number is, if we take the fact that it's in Finland, it's this much bigger than any other American comic book ever.
Wow.
It's huge.
Man.
It's bizarrely big.
I had no idea.
No.
This is something I'm going to need to know before there's a Finnish Worldcon.
Yes.